Great start. we are live. So, hello, ladies and gentlemen of Vanderbilt, and welcome to Terrier Talk, Season 2, Episode 10. A lot to talk about, and I have two great guests here with me, two offensive linemen for Vanderbilt. So, welcome onto the show, Will Hato and Mark Matthew. Thank you for coming on. So, a lot to talk about this week and with you guys. So, like I said, two offensive linemen, both projected to start going into the year. Mark, unfortunately, it was meniscus tear. ACL tear, excuse me. And it was a re-injury on the knee and out for the season. But the two, seniors of the offensive line going into the year, taking hold of that leadership. And it's been a year it's been great, really, so far. Going into the year, so I've talked to Mark about this a little bit before. Tyson says senpai. So first of all, thank you, Tyson, for being on. But I had talked to Mark about this before in the year, that last year we struggled a lot offensively. Mm-hmm. That could be, you could look at the offensive line a little bit too, that it's had struggles there, and you lose four of the starters. The other starter gets injured, and but my point is that it sucks. But my point is that's concerning for the offensive line. You don't have a returning starter. They struggled the year before, and I had concerns. I didn't have high expectations, honestly, going into the year. And you guys blew me away with your physicality, with your technique, with your improvement, just how much you guys have improved, not just from year to year, but over the course of this year, has been incredible. Is there anything that you guys can attribute that to?
Yeah.
I
guess it's because, it's 4 new people, but all 4 of them in the same grade.
Yes.
All 4 juniors.
Mm-hmm.
And for O-line to work well, every single person has to be a perfect puzzle piece. So 4 people who are best friends, including Will, all 5 of them are best friends, including me. So it's a family that's going to work well, and if you work well, you play well.
Mm-hmm.
And another thing is probably like the way we've been working at practice. I think we've been working pretty hard at practice. We're like gassed every single day.
Mm-hmm.
We've been working on technique and everything. It's just that's probably the reason we've probably been doing so much better.
Okay. I will address the questions, but I do want to say one thing. I think it's interesting. Everyone talks about the chemistry between the wide receivers and a quarterback. I think it's talked about a lot, like in the NFL, college, whatever it is. And you see those improvements. That doesn't get talked about a lot. The chemistry between the left tackle and the left guard, between the entire offensive line, and it's definitely been a difference this year. And I see it in the locker room. These 5 guys love each other.
Oh, yeah.
Great, all 6 of you guys, great friends, and that definitely does have an effect. So now we have a lot of questions to ask. We'll start, first of all, Sierra Duncan, hello and greetings. Thank you for coming on to the show, for joining us.
Chica pequeño.
Sammy Bro asked Tyson, what does that mean? Cheap Flounder 40.
That's Alex Smith.
Alex Smith asks, what is your opinion on women? I don't know who that's directed to.
Great people.
Great for the most part. But I think the new Batman show, the Batwoman, that's not good.
Yeah, he's right about that.
But the Avengers 2 is pretty good.
Okay. Neger.
Don't say that.
I said
Who was that?
I don't know who that is. Okay, let's. So I say it, and then I realize. Anyway, he says, "What's up, to play?" Well, hello. Thank you for being on the show. Greetings, whoever you are. Carter asks Will a personal question. We're going to ignore that. Sierra says, "Hola." John says, "Hello. Thank you. Thank you for being on the show. Greetings." So lots of interaction today in one way, shape, or form. We'll move on.
All right, let's go. Just a little slip up, no big deal. Good.
And we'll move on. So a lot of improvements. We want to talk about specifically. We've had a few great games from the offensive line. It's kind of hard to attribute, especially the way that we keep stats at Vanderbilt, the way that I keep stats at Vanderbilt, attribute exactly how an offensive line plays. Like you can look at tackles for a D line, tackles for linebackers, receiving yards, passing yards, rushing yards. the best way to look, because we don't keep track of, we do count sacks, we don't keep track of pressures, we don't keep track of hits. The best way we can look at it is like rushing yardage. That contributed a lot to the offensive line. So looking off of that, we've had a couple of great games. I think it was near 300 yards against Berwick. And then this week, one of our biggest games, 189, if I recall correctly, 183 or 189 yards against South Terrebonne. So, is there anything that especially with the revolving door in the backfield that we had throughout the night? Dylan ran a bunch of times, Hunter ran a few times, Caleb ran a few times, got in the end zone once, Gavin ran a few times. Is there anything that you guys want to attribute to how you guys played during that game and how all that success came about? Hey.
Well, I like to say in the first half it was kind of slow. Because we game plan, we were kind of surprised whenever they lined up their linebackers like 2 yards off the ball. We didn't really game plan for that well. But we started picking it up in the second half a lot. And that's where a lot of the big, chunky rushes came in.
Right.
So, yeah, I guess it was just a bad game plan or something. But
I understand that, Mark. Do you want to say anything about it? I know you weren't on the field.
No, not really.
Oh, okay.
There's nothing to say. That's all Will.
Okay, well, I know on that game, I think he made a really good point, and I'll talk about this a little bit more later on, but it was really a tale of two halves, that game. You have the first half, the offensive struggles, and we're down 9-7, and then the physicality, the play, the technique, the reaction to what South Terrebonne did flips during halftime. And we win that battle of physicality, and we score 3 touchdowns, and we just dominate the entire. Gorge goes chunky rush yards. Yes, they were great rush yards.
Very chunky.
Yes, it's that physicality just changed, because I think physicality is the one word that's the difference when this team has great success and when this team any year, any given time doesn't have that great success. We aren't physical enough, and we have been physical this year, top to bottom, just as a season overall. And that's what we were. Even, we didn't prepare for 5 down linemen, which essentially was what that was. We have 2 linebackers less than 3 yards off the line. That's essentially what you're playing against, and we're not prepared for that. We do prepare for it throughout the course of the game, and we improve. But when we're physical, we have success. And I think that leads, especially our time at Vanderbilt as a whole, to one other thing I definitely want to ask both of you about, and that is the big game this week. It's going to be the main event of the episode of the show, and that is the game at Assumption for the district championship. Huge game. What is the single most important thing we have to do as a whole team in order to win this game? I want to start with Mark.
I'd say grit. Every single year, they just come with a raw dog emotion. They're not going to give up. They're not going to quit. They're very physical, and they have a great coach. So they're essentially Ellender, but way better coach. They don't have a lot of slip-ups, and they're not going to give up. So what we need to do is just have a way more physical and brutal mindset coming into this week. And every year I played them, my sophomore year and junior year, the defensive ends were always really athletic and fast. The linebackers always were really quick and hit really hard. And the D linemen, their defensive tackles and nose guards, were always big, strong, and just mean.
Mm-hmm.
So that's it. We need to have the attitude of being that and more coming in this week.
Just have to be better than them. Will, do you have anything?
I got a couple things to say, actually. Okay. So first of all, what you were talking about, the physicality, the more physical team is going to win the game, because I know both teams, Vanderbilt and Assumption, are both physical. So whoever is more physical and wants it more is going to win. And the second thing I'm going to say is that the coaches, I know the coaches already started on game planning for them, and basically just executing the game plan. That's what's going to win us the game. And so.
And definitely all very good points. I think we look back, because this game has, since we've been here, so much history behind it. Mm-hmm. At Assumption, those those PAT, those point after touchdown attempts, it's nightmare fuel.
It's always been so close.
It's been so close. But you look at, say, last year, because I think you can mirror this year to last year a lot. And you have last year at halftime, we're down 14-0. I look at the way Coach James is coaching that defense up. They're not going to score another point.
No.
Assumption's not going to score a point.
Or they will
It's
die.
over at halftime.
Or they will die.
It's over. So it's a question of the offense, and that's not the last time that's happened since then. It happened at South Terrier just last week. Offensive struggles in the first half. Defense put the foot on the ground, did not give up another point. And in that game, we scored enough points to win despite the deficit at halftime.
Can't forget about the bad refs.
Yes, I'll talk about the South Terrebonne game more in detail. But yes, the refs were awful. We overcame that. And we came back to win. Only 2 points, but still a comeback. Assumption last year we weren't able to do that. We came up 1 point short, of course. I hate to think about it, but we did do it. And it's not the first time that we pivotal change at halftime and we can't quite do what we need to do in order to win. And it's going to, I feel like this game's, first of all, it's for the district championship. There's no question about it. There's no last year looming Edie White's 2 weeks ahead where we're just really fighting for a share because Edie White's going to get there. It's no questions asked.
Yeah.
District championship on the line at Assumption where we had 2 classic games the last time we were there.
Yep.
It's going to come down to physicality. It's going to come down to the trenches on both sides of the ball. And it's coming down to who wants that more.
It's gonna be fun.
Yes. So there was a very good question. Carter goes, what's I assume in answering the question, what's the key to winning the game? And he goes, win, which
Dude, Carter, just leave, man.
score. As my father puts it, score more points than the other team.
That's probably the way you win.
What did your dad always say?
It's not about the Jimmys and the Joes. It's about
The X's and the O's. Shut up.
But a very good question, although I'm a little unclear on who exactly he's asking about. He asked, what do you have to say about how Joe has been playing this year? Does he mean Joe Burrow? I don't remember a Joe.
He means Joe Mama.
You don't get it? Let's just
Like,
discard it.
I do get it, but okay. I thought it was
seriously.
anyway.
Look at James. James answered it for you. Joe Mama.
Well, thank you, James.
My boy James.
Anyway, funny questions aside, I think that physicality, that want to do it, is going to be the most pivotal thing when it comes to this game. I think there's a little bit of a weird way to get to this, but this team is just, especially at the senior level, just feels different this year. We've seen coming back from injuries, people like Caleb, all this recovering and getting back to it. And I want to talk to Mark about your situation with your injury.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously, I think was it the Monday of the Edie White game we found out you weren't able to play? Or was
No,
it
it was a Saturday.
It was a Saturday, okay.
Mm-hmm.
But it was that week we found out.
Is it Monday practice? Whenever you slip.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't remember what to say. It was Saturday or Monday.
And found out you're not able to play.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to kind of take me through, all the emotions you felt throughout the season, throughout the recovery, throughout finding that out,
Mm-hmm.
and how you felt throughout the season.
Well, at the beginning of the off season, once we started practice, I had my mind set on playing college football. I started working out way harder ever since the end when football ended in junior
Right.
year.
I remember you getting an offer from Louisiana College,
Mhm.
regardlessly. So
Yeah, and that's not the only attention I got from colleges. I got attention from other D3 schools in here and in Mississippi. I've had a lot of emails from one team in Tennessee, a team in Arkansas, and Nichols is about to offer me. When I went to their college visit, they said that they're most likely going to offer me for a preferred walk-on. But anyway, yes, I went through a bunch of camps, 6 or 7 during the summer. I missed a lot of practice, but it's for good reason.
right.
And I went to the Nichols camp, and they said, "Look, we really like you. Come to some of our games. We're going to go to some of yours because we were really thinking about having you." I'm like, "Great." And about a couple weeks after that, that's when I had my knee injury. And at first, whenever you tear your ACL, like your knee gets really purple and swollen, but it wasn't like that. And we went to go see someone real quick, someone my mom knows who specialized in like knee injuries, and she moved it. She did a little test, and she's like, it seems stable. What probably happened is your kneecap slammed down onto your femur, and that's why it hurts so bad. I'm like, sweet, but my dad didn't. My parents were still kind of nervous about that, so just to be sure, they wanted to get an MRI. And a couple of days later, I got home, and I found out that my ACL was torn. And at first it was like someone dropped a bus on me.
Right.
But I'm like, look, I worked so hard for this. I can still play college even if I don't play this season, but I just want to play my senior season with my boys. So I went through physical therapy for about a month at Health Pro, shout out. And
Where's the shirt?
yeah, that's where I work. And they're like, look, you're really stable for just having your ACL torn. We went through a bunch of stuff, a lot of rigorous physical exercises, and they said, look, I think you're ready to play. I'm like, sweet, thank you so much. Shook their hand, bye-bye. And went into practice the next day. I was having the time of my life. And 20 minutes in, I was doing just a simple kick drill. And then my knee separated, and it hurt like hell.
Wow.
The thing, I couldn't really feel my leg.
So one thing I want to clarify. So the original injury was an ACL tear.
Yeah.
And then you come back just a couple months later.
1 month.
Or 1 month later,
Brace.
and you re-tear it, or is it just a full separation?
Oh no, the first time it was completely torn, but
Okay.
Whenever I re-injured my knee, you see the ACL kind of keeps this part of the leg and this part of the leg together. And I guess how I re-injured is the two bones like separated like this and came back together, and that's why it hurt so bad.
Mm-hmm.
And pretty much in that moment, I knew that my football career was over, because it was too late for me to play my senior year, and it was too late for me to play college because I waited so long. But I guess it's meant to be for some reason, maybe for the better, so I can focus on school. But that's just how it is. And then surgery, that was hell. I got surgery about a week or two later, and I was pretty much bedridden for about a week. I couldn't move. It was pretty much like I was paralyzed from the waist down, but the only difference is I could still feel the pain.
Right.
I just couldn't move it. And then a lot of people came visit me. Everyone who came visit me while I was bedridden, thank you so much. That made a world of difference to me. God bless y'all. But I went back to school about a week later in a wheelchair. Got out of the chair in about 2 or 3 weeks.
I just want to say this. I have a class with you, physics with you.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, wait, what do you mean Mark's out of the wheelchair?
Yeah.
What? I thought that was incredible. That very, very impressive recovery in that way to get out of the wheelchair that quickly.
Hell of a forearm workout, but I mean, I was just thankful to be in crutches. Everyone's like, "Oh, it must suck being in crutches." No, I was thankful to get out of that damn chair.
Right.
That I would rather sit in a damn electric chair for a couple of weeks, because that thing sucked. Everyone's coming up and putting your brakes on.
Park mode.
Yeah. Dude, stand up and fight me, dude. But I was just thankful to be in crutches, because then I could move around.
Right.
And I could still wear shorts. But now it's still good to walk. I'm going through PT, just about starting a job, but I'm doing all right.
That's great. That recovery, and then I guess I also want to ask. Well, I don't know how long you guys have been friends. If a while
Since
at
the very beginning.
Since like CPR football for sure.
But for a very long time. So how's it been for you? Being with them, being friends with them during this recovery.
Well, when the injury first happened, it was pretty hard for all of us, the whole O-line especially, because he was pretty much going to be like the big leader on the O-line, the one that was going to keep us honest the whole time. And when he got injured, everyone was just like jaw drop. Nobody knew what to do. And we just had to all step up and be with each other, like just to push each other to do harder. and that's what we've been doing. So.
All right, you guys have been connected, and I think you've taken the leadership role that Mark was going to be assumed to assume, no pun intended. You guys have taken that really well. You, Gorge, who's watching the show, thank you. James, Jacob, Hunter, all of them, Hunter with the snaps, and all of you guys have, instead of there being one leader, it feels like there are 5, and the offensive line as a whole has improved throughout the season, has impressed me throughout the season, has impressed, I think, a lot of people. And as a unit, it's been something that we've been able to rely on as a team, and it's been something that I've been phenomenal to see throughout 8 games. And I hope you guys can have a great finish to the season, and I wish you the best of luck to finish the season, and of course, Mark, in your recovery.
Thank you.
So I hope you guys, great game against Assumption, great senior night against Morgan City, and a great run through the playoffs. So thank you for being on.
Thank you.
Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
We had a few questions throughout, but
They're probably just stupid.
Absolutely.
one of them I was not going to ask. I was not going to answer. But anyway, thank you. No, yeah, right.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Move this around a little bit. Get this oriented. Apologize for the slip up earlier. I really did not make that connection until I said it. And I'm not going to make that mistake again if I can avoid it. So, thank you to Mark and Will for coming on the show and talking about it. I thought that was great from both of them. Talking about the recovery, talking about the knee, talking about the offensive line. Thank you for them for doing that. I want to answer one question from James. He's been on the show a few times. I've seen this asked from people that aren't on the show many times, and they just ask, how can I send money? And I go, I want to set it up at some point, but I haven't done it yet. James, who's been a frequent user of the show, frequent interacting viewer of the show, asks, and I think I'm starting to think maybe I do want to really set this up, and I'm definitely going to look into that in the near future. I've been really busy over the last few weeks, but I'll see what I can do with setting something like that up. So, James, I definitely will look into that. A couple of other shout-outs. So, Alex Valvasso says hello, specifically to Moose, but I'll also respond now. Greetings. Thank you for coming on the show, for joining us. Colin asked who would win a fight between Coach Rhodes and Coach Gonzalez. I didn't think in the time of Mark talking about his surgery was very appropriate to answer that question. I don't know. They would have been better to answer. I apologize. And then I won't answer that last question. But we're going to go ahead and move on to a more overall talk about the game. So at South Terrebonne, I brought it up during the interview, but it's a tale of 2 halves. The first half, we're struggling offensively, get really good field position to start. A fake punt on 4th down leads to a touchdown, somewhat similar to the Assumption game last year, and we'll talk about that game, but touchdown, take off the lead, South Terrebonne drives down the field, kicks a field goal in the second quarter. Looks like we're going to go into the game 7-3 at half. Final drive of the second half with about a minute left. A minute and a half left. Penalty-plagued, penalty-ridden on both sides. They convert a few long third downs that they really should never have, whether it's by penalty, by whatever. They get to a third and 10. Incomplete pass. We see a little bit of I think it was Kenny, taps on the guy as it's incomplete. Pull the flag. Pass interference. Awful call. I don't get it. The refs were terrible. Later on in the drive, I think it's 4th down, might have been 3rd down on the drive with, I think it was 55 seconds left. Deep bomb, wide receiver, I think it was number 4, pushes off of Kenny, I think. Again, pushes off of Kenny, obvious offensive pass interference, catches the football, no flag. Maybe the worst pair of calls side by side I've ever seen in a football game. How is that pass interference, but the second throw isn't? I don't get it, but after a partially blocked extra point, I think it was by Braden Heck. Good job, by Braden there. We go into the half down 9-7. South Terrebonne goes into this game with a very interesting game plan, both on offense and defense. And like years before, it seemed to rattle us. Sophomore year, we were heavily favored against a not very good South Terrebonne team, and we're down 14-0 at the end of the first quarter, or deep into the first quarter. We come back to win by 20. Last year, we're down 21-7 at half after a pick six and some short fields and like a kickoff return, fumble, down 21-7 at half. We had just at halftime, and we score. And we go on to win 33-21. This year, South, and they always have this very finite, not very finite, it does end up being finite, but very refined game plan on both sides to try to figure us out. On the defensive side of the ball for them, Will brought it up. They had a very good game plan. They put basically 5 guys on the line of scrimmage. They brought both their linebackers up. We weren't prepared for it, and we struggled in the first half because of it. On the other side of the ball, on their offensive side, our defensive side of the ball, they tested our DBs a lot, especially for a wing T team. They run the triple option. Now, South Terrebonne is known for throwing a lot, getting throw heavy, especially late in games, despite being a triple option team. But they seemed very specifically trying to test us on one-on-one coverage. They tested Kenny a lot, one of our top cornerbacks on the team. They tested him many times, and sometimes they won, sometimes they lost. Sometimes there was offensive pass interference, sometimes they called defensive pass interference when maybe it was or was not there. The penalties in this game were awful. It slowed the game down on both sides, but I thought the refs were terrible against us in general during the game. I talked about that terrible pair of call, the no call at the end of the half. We end the game with 14 penalties for 145 yards. South Terrebonne only finishes the game with 159 yards of total offense. So that means they almost got more yards from us making mistakes or from us allegedly making mistakes than from them actually moving the ball down the field. But we go into halftime, down 9-7, and the coaches are pissed. I come down, I try to give them statistics, and none of them wanted anything because all of them saw that drive, all of them saw what happened in the end, and all of them were focused on winning that game in the second half. And that's impressive. Now, they're not alone in that. A lot of great coaches do that. But that is very impressive. Focus on one thing. Focus on winning that game. Focus on the schematic differences, on the physicality differences, on what you need to do to play the best half of football that you can. And Vanderbilt played the best half of football all season at South Terrebonne last week so far this entire season. The best half of football. Physical domination for the final 24 minutes. The best way to show that, when you show just straight up physicality, who won in the trenches, is rushing yards. I mentioned the statistic before. We ran for 183 rushing yards on offense. South Terrebonne, keep in mind this is a wing T team that ran 58 plays in the game, ran their total yardage, rush yardage at the end of the game was negative 20 yards. That is the first time in all of the football that I've watched, and I've been watching football for about a decade now, in all of the football that I can remember, that I've seen a team finish with negative rushing yards in a game. And this is a triple option team. This is a wing T team. No matter how much they get, wanting to throw the football, it's still at heart a winged T offense. And they ran for negative 20 yards. That's an awful offensive day, but it's also a phenomenal defensive day for that front seven and for the team in general. Braden Heck had a lot of tackles anyway, despite not being a part of the front seven playing safety. Phenomenal day for the defense. Gave up 9 points on some whatever calls. Gave up 170 passing yards, almost 200. But to be fair, that's on 37 attempts. South Terrebonne was only 14 for 37. That's pretty good as a defense in high school. It's not exactly where you want to be, but it's pretty good. They also converted a surprising number of third downs. 4 for 14 is surprisingly not terrible for a team playing against our defense. You expect us to hold a team to 0 for 9, 0 for 10, 1 for 9, 1 for 14, things like that. 4 for 14, that's like 30%. That is almost average. That's odd. And they were off of penalties. They were off of a weird play, whatever it was. South Carolina had 4 first downs off of penalties. 4 of, I think there's 7 or 9 on the game. So statistically, a very odd game. Many specific numbers that are interesting to look at. On the offensive side of the football, I talked about how impressive the defense was and how impressive the run game was. Gavin Nagel finished with almost 200 total yards of offense that he was responsible for. 130 passing, all 130 of them passing, and another 60 rushing. Incredibly impressive. I think that gets lost a little bit about in how good Chandler played, how good Braden played, how good that defensive line played. Gavin had a really good game. Hunter Porsche had an incredible catch. Not the play of the game. I'll talk about that in a second. But an incredible catch for a touchdown. The play of the game and the turning point of the game. So we'll talk about the third quarter. I talked about the third quarter as a whole and the half as a whole and how good we were during that half. But the third quarter, I go into the beginning of the second half. I tend to think of the worst when I'm watching football, so I'm thinking, oh no, our offense hasn't been moving the ball down the field. We're not going to be able to score, and we're going to lose because of that. Defense forces I think it was either a blocked punt or a forced fumble. I can't remember off the top of my head. We get a short field. We can't move the ball down the field, but we score a field goal to go ahead, 10-9. South Carolina gets the ball back, of course. So we kick off ensuing South Carolina possession. South Carolina throws it up. Again, testing Kenny Franklin. And Kenny makes the play of the game, no questions asked. Maybe the most incredible from an athletic standpoint play of the season for Vanderbilt. He goes up. South Carolina throws the ball into like triple coverage. So I'm thinking, okay, we got to pick this off. We got to intercept this. Kenny goes up, one hand up, like only a couple of steps away from that Odell Beckham catch. One hands the football from midair, comes down with it, and it's Vanderbilt football. And Vanderbilt runs away with the game from there. We score a touchdown. South Carolina starts getting desperate, turns the ball over on downs. We score a touchdown, turns the ball over, score a touchdown. One from Caleb, one from Gavin. I think one passing touchdown from Gavin to Hunter. Incredible game. Ja'Cory led the team in receptions, but incredible game. And it just rolled from there. And we had a great game the entire night from after the beginning of the second half. A couple of notes. I mentioned it. Ja'Cory led the team in receptions, ended up with just a couple of fewer yards than Hunter. I think that gets not talked about a lot because Hunter Porsche had a couple of great plays. He had 2 receptions for 60 yards and a touchdown. That incredible up top catch it run touchdown catch, and then he had a little screen pass that he ran for about 30 yards. So he had he led the team in receiving yards and had the touchdown, but Ja'Cory had a much low, more low key, I guess to say, game. He led the team in receptions, only had a couple fewer yards, and helped for those little chunk plays. 3 receptions, 58 yards. Just a very solid game from Ja'Cory. At a position that we haven't seen a lot of consistency from this season. Hayes has been out a large chunk of the season with turf toe. He came back in limited capacity this week. Hopefully he will be at full 100% capacity going into the big Assumption game. But a big consistency game from the wide receiver core that had been lacking some in previous weeks. So that's kind of the whole of the game for South Carolina. We'll talk about Assumption later. It is the no questions asked main event of this week and of this episode. So we'll talk about that at the end of the episode. But great game from Vanderbilt. Congratulations to everyone. However, that is not the only amazing performance from a Vanderbilt team this week. Cross country, they were supposed to have 2 meets. River Parish on Wednesday and another meet on Saturday. The one on Saturday ends up getting rained out. The one at River Parish did not. Wow. Okay. So, a little bit of perspective. I've talked about the cross-country team a lot over the course of this season. The girls were supposed to sweep the entire competition, absolutely head and shoulders above everyone else, and that is what happened from the girls. That's not the exciting part. The girls scored 15, top 5 runners, no competition, obvious winners of a non-competitive race. Second place was, I think, H.L. Bourgeois with 50 points. The lower the score, of course, the better in cross-country. Moving on to the boys. This was going to be a 2-horse race. You had Homewood Christian, who was decent. You had a couple of other teams that were not bad. But this was a 2-horse race. Terrebonne and Vanderbilt. The last meet both schools were at, Terrebonne crushed Vanderbilt by 80 points. Of course, it's a little different. The way cross-country scoring works, if I recall correctly, you have, the person who wins gets 1 point, and then so on and so forth. Your top 5 runners score, and the lowest score wins. 34th place gets 34 points, so on and so forth. So that means when you have more good teams, Terrebonne and Vanderbilt were, say, the 7th and 9th best teams at whatever meet, or the 11th and 13th, or whatever it was. The difference between the volume is going to, I assume, theoretically going to be bigger. So the fact that it was going to be closer going into River Parish isn't a big surprise. But Terrebonne was probably still favored going into it. Vanderbilt was going to have, for the boys, to have their best night of their career, of the season, in order to win. Extremely close race. Both, you get, I think it was 4 of the top 10 or 5 of the top 10 runners between the two teams. 2 top 5 runners from Vanderbilt, Thomas Thompson and Bryce Valor, of course, a frequenter of the show. Thank you, Bryce. And amazing race. 12th and 14th ended up being the big deciding points. And Vanderbilt comes on top, 36-38, with 2 top 5 runners, 36-38 for a win on River Parish. The sweep for both the girls and the boys. Incredible meet for Vanderbilt. Exciting, amazing finish. You don't tend to get those crazy close finishes in cross country like you do in some other sports, but we had it here. An amazing meet, and congratulations, huge congratulations to both teams for winning. I think it's their first postseason meet of the year, and I wish them the best of luck in the future weeks. They don't have anything this week, but I assume those big meets will be coming up pretty soon, so I wish them the best of luck there. In a little side note, although I guess it shouldn't be a side note, Bryn Kelso won the meet, I presume, and she also won Barker Honda Athlete of the Week for this week, so great job for her for that. Congratulations for that. Moving on to volleyball, the third big event from the week. I made a bit of a mistake last week. And I talked about the Assumption game just kind of blowing it off because I assumed every single district team for volleyball was a pushover. I was incorrect. Assumption is apparently a top 5 team in Division II. Going into the game, they were 5th ranked. We were 3rd ranked. Both potential state championship contenders could meet again in either the quarters or even the semis. So I was incorrect just as a whole going into this game. Assumption's only district loss going into the game was to Vanderbilt, and if they could pull off the victory at home, both teams would be projected to share the title, assuming neither team lost afterwards. And what happens? Assumption pulls the upset. Assumption ends up winning in 4 sets. The final score being 25-16, 22-25, 25-21, and in an incredible finish, Assumption wins that 4th set 30-28. Vanderbilt was this close to forcing that 5th set. If that happens, anything can happen from there. Who knows? The 5th set, anything could have happened, and they're so close. Ties in that 4th set, trying to get to that 5th set for Vanderbilt. Ties at 19 points, 20 points, 21 points, and of course 24 on, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Those final few minutes, those final few points, from 19 and on, that's a dogfight. That is competition. That is what you want to see in a sporting event at its finest. the slightly lower ranked team at home, trying to knock off the big boys, the repeating back-to-back state champions from your district, trying to get that district championship, and Assumption did it. And Assumption pulled off the upset. Obviously, as a Vanderbilt fan, it sucks to see us lose and give up the full district championship. But as a fan, as just a sporting spectator, those are the stories that you want to see. And the game itself, no matter who won, was amazing. So I tip my hat to both teams in what was an incredible game and an incredible finish. We're down 29-28, match point on the board for Assumption. Brittany goes for a kill to even it back up. An incredible save from what I saw. They return it. We end up not being able to return the kill, and Assumption wins. So great game from the volleyball teams. Obviously, would have liked to see Vanderbilt win, but it is what it is. We'll still probably end up being co-district champions, and we could easily meet for a rubber match in a neutral site to see who that true better team is potentially in playoffs. We're in the same district, in same division this year. 2 state championship contenders. Even after this loss, we've lost to some teams we wish we couldn't have lost to, but we're still state championship contenders. So hopefully we can go to that. We can get our revenge on this game. And, of course, I wish the volleyball team and everyone the best of luck going into that. A few other games, I don't know the exact results of them, but I think we would come out on top against Allen or things like that. So wish the best of luck to volleyball going into this next week. Finally, swimming. I had a hard time finding the exact results, but I talked to Miss Watkins a little bit. She said that it wasn't a great experience. So I assume it didn't end so well for the swimming team. So I'm sorry for that. I know they still have a few other meets throughout the season, so I wish them the best of luck in that. Moving on to the preview, I'll go ahead and talk about volleyball now. We just talked about them. They have their final few games this week, starting with South Terrebonne on Tuesday. It is senior night, so hopefully a lot to talk about there about it being senior night specifically. But first of all, I don't think South Terrebonne is Assumption. I don't think South Terrebonne's that good. We beat them earlier in the year. We should beat them again here at senior night, especially at senior night. I'll talk about that in a second. If I make that same mistake, I'm sorry. I'm going to try to avoid making that same mistake. But hopefully this should be a pretty simple victory. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't think I am, but I don't think there are any other teams like Assumption in our district. Should be an easy victory for South Terrebonne. But let's talk about senior night for a second. So I talked early on in the season about this core of players, this core of starters that have started for a few years now. Brittany Terrier, Angel Bouquet, Tiffany Boudreau, and a few other seniors who have been key role players throughout the season, throughout these years. Their final home game at Vanderbilt on Tuesday. It's the last hurrah for this big core group of players. They're going to be leaving a huge mark on Vanderbilt, whether or not they go all the way this year. That pair of state championships needs to be attributed a lot to them. And I hope they have a great game, but I hope they have a great finish to the season. So best of luck to them for that. And then I think it's their final district game on Friday. They go to South Lafourche. If they win both games, they clinch a share of the district championship. Should be easy outside of the long road trip. Shouldn't be too difficult of a game there. I don't think there are any swimming or cross-country events at all this week. So we're going to go right into the final thing, and that is the main event of this week. Of course, at Assumption for football. Huge game, and there is so much to talk about. We talked about it a little bit in my interview with Mark and Will, but there is just so much to talk about at Assumption this week. So, first of all, the history of this game. Because I don't think there are many people that remember it. Obviously, the seniors are the only ones that have lived it to its fullest. But I think it's a story that needs to be told. We have played 6 teams, I think it is, every week and every year that I've been here. Edie White, South Terrebonne, South Lafourche, Morgan City, Ellender, and Assumption. We have beaten all 6 of those teams, 5 of those 6 teams at least once. We've lost Edie White every year, but we beat them that one year. In freshman, we beat South Lafourche 3 times, and we haven't lost to Ellender, South Terrebonne, or Morgan City since we've been here, since my 8th grade year. Assumption is the only team that we haven't beaten. We're 0-4 against them. And 2 times, now, first of all, the 2 times that we hosted them in 8th grade, I don't know a lot about the background of that game, but we got crushed 42-7. And then sophomore year, we were heavily favored against a decent Assumption team, and we got surprisingly blown back 41-20. But the 2 road games are the big stories. So our freshman year, we're 7-1, projected to win the district by a landslide. Assumption's like 5-3 or whatever, 4-3. Only have 1 loss in the district though. And they go in, and we score a touchdown. They return it with a kickoff return for a touchdown. They miss the extra point. We score another touchdown. Same thing, kickoff return, miss an extra point. And we're down in the dumps at halftime like we really shouldn't be. We're up 14-12. This is still a winnable game. And we just don't feel the same thing that we felt throughout the rest of the season. We were a nationally ranked team at that point. We had a lot of hype going into us. And 3rd quarter, we miss an extra point. We go into the 4th quarter down 27-26, because I think they go for 2 at some point. Down 27-26 with a minute left to go. And because of the missed extra point, instead of just kicking 1 more to win the game 28-27, we go for 2 instead of tying it, and it falls incomplete, and Assumption wins the district. Fast forward 2 years later. We're down 14-0 at halftime last year. Going into the game, we're not projected to win. This game is, for a chance for a share of the district championship. We have Edie White looming over us. All of that, but still a very big game in the realm of the district. Neither team, I don't think either team had lost at that point. Maybe Assumption had lost to UA, but 2 of the top 3 teams in district playing have a chance to pull off a bit of an upset. Assumption's favored, down 14-0 at halftime. Coach James puts his foot on the floor, does not give up another point. It's all a matter of if our offense can move the ball down the field. Fake punt from Jacob Souffle. Scores a touchdown, 14-7. I think it was a turnover, forces another touchdown from us, 14-13. Jacory gets hurt, banged up. The stories are a little bit mixed. Go for the PAT, and it gets missed. Or blocked. Either way, fails, and we end up losing 14-13. With the momentum, we probably would have won in overtime if we hit the extra point, but we didn't. And it is soul-crushing, because the last 2 times we were at Assumption, never beaten them before. Never beaten them since I've been here, since the senior class has been here. And it's soul-crushing to see those losses. It's almost nightmarish to see those losses every time we're there. But this game, with everything on the line, remember, this is a group of seniors that has not seen a district championship. With everything on the line, 2 teams undefeated in district. Assumption's very highly ranked. So they're like top 60 in the state. Both undefeated in district. Winner wins the district unless something weird happens. Outright. And everything on the line. At Assumption, where we've had all of these moments of grief. We have a chance to turn that all around. Win our first district championship since we've been here. Win our first game against Assumption since we've been here. Right all of those wrongs at Mustang Field. And this is our chance. This is something that's been building for 4.5 years, it feels. And it is one big game. Not just the background, but the 2 teams that are playing. Because these are the 2 teams that have shown that they're the best in the district. It's for the district championship. Assumption's only lost 1 game this season. They got shellacked by St. James about a month ago. They lost 35-7. Remember, we lost to St. James pretty badly. I think it was 26-3 in the Jamboree. So these are 2 teams that, from that look, probably somewhat similar. The other thing is Assumption hasn't given up a point since that game to St. James a month ago. That's terrifying, especially for an offense that, while we're improving, hasn't been the strength of the team. But you look at Vanderbilt, we've only given up 1 touchdown since our homecoming game at Welsh. We've only given up 2 touchdowns since touchdown. So these are 2 defenses, just like last year, where it was claustrophobic. The scoring was claustrophobic. Every point came at a premium, and that final extra point was the difference in the game. This will be the same thing. These are 2, what it seems like in the district, elite defenses that do not give up points. Every single point, every single turnover, every single special teams move. I talked about special teams a lot in both of those previous games at Assumption. Every moment of special teams will decide the game. Any turnover will decide the game. This will be a field position war, a war of attrition, where every single point matters. And it will be amazing, I can tell. This is going to be a great game, and I cannot wait for it on Friday. And of course, I hope we win. I hope this is a game that we'll be able to come to and play like we can play. If we play the best way that we can go and win the game. I know that. So if we go do that, if we go out and win that game and play the best we can win a district championship. And that's the goal, and that's what I hope we're able to do. So I wish the best of luck to all the Terriers playing. Senior night for volleyball, big game for volleyball, and of course the big game for us for football. And I hope you guys had enjoyed a very long episode, a lot to talk about, very eventful week. Hope you enjoyed, and I hope to see you next time. Next week, same time, same channel. I will see you then.